Hi there and welcome back to Japan and to our reaction to the latest Unlucky Morpheus song, Top of the M. This is a review video. As always, if you want to see the reaction segment, pause this, click the little link in the description below, opens up a separate little YouTube player which you can watch just in case you haven't heard the song before or in case you want to see how I reacted upon first hearing it. Now, my ears are still ringing from having heard that. That was loud, which I guess is the point. Anyway, I'm sipping this to indicate that if you need to watch that reaction, pause this now and then come back to it afterwards. Otherwise, the review's about to come when I finish this sip. Last sip of the coffee. There was a lump in the bottom. Alright, here we go. So, I came into this with a degree of trepidation. As always, we're honest on this channel. And as I said at the beginning of the reaction segment, if you did see that, this is a group who I have kind of mixed feelings about. Basically, I want them to do well. And as a general, I like a lot of what they put out, but it's always with a certain caveat. Their style sometimes alienates me. There's so many things about what they do that I like. I like that there's often a real clear punch to what they do. I like the anthemic, the big sounds is usually something quite big and almost bombastic about the arrangement. And I love the singing style that Fuki delivers there. I love the vocal style on it. So this is a group who I've got to say that as a general, I want them to do well, but often what alienates me is sometimes there is an excess on the twiddling. Now, there's nothing wrong with if you want to do twiddling music as a general. That's not the end of the world. That's not the worst thing that you can do. However, it's got to be done with a degree of restraint, and it seems so odd to say that something that you want to be sort of, part of the big bombastic style of the music, you want it to be restrained, but it's because everything has to find its own place. Often the stuff that sounds most sort of wild and expressive is the stuff that's put in right place at the right time to express the right thing. With some of the previous stuff, I have felt a little bit like it's been sort of go, go, go all the time, to the point where too much double kick, too much guitar twiddle maybe has made me feel like nothing's really shone through as much as it could have done because there was too many layers. Now, I just wanted to put that out of the way first of all, just so you know where I'm approaching this from, because it's been a long time since we first reviewed, or should I say we last reviewed this band. In fact, I'm pretty sure that it was before our channel got restarted at the beginning of 2020, about sort of, I think it was in April or May 2020 that we had to restart everything because of the band that shall not be named. But, yeah, so in that first sort of year and a bit of the channel, we had covered them quite a lot, actually. I would say I think we did like 4 or 5 reviews at least. So, by our standards, considering the number of groups, we covered quite a lot. So it was interesting to come back to them. I didn't know how I was going to feel. I just saw this was announced. Sorry about that. If you can hear the noise, apologies. Neighbours. The thing which really kind of got me about this was that there was a... like I said, I just seen this announced. It came up on my YouTube feed. I was like, oh, I've got to check that out. I was, like I say, was going in maybe with a slightly overly cautious view, worried about seeing those certain concerns that had come up again. But what we actually got here was a very tightly written and very tightly arranged song. Now, I understand, I'm going to come on to this in a minute, how that might not work for everyone, and some people might see this as a step back from what made them maybe better in some of their previous songs, but we'll come to that in a minute. What I really liked here is that everything got a chance to shine through. The guitar stuff, the more twiddly stuff, was in its place in the bridge. I mean, you don't have to put it in the bridge, but, it had its section where it worked to sort of give the song its sort of craziness and blast you into that really cool sort of head bomby. I loved that melodic bridge that they had, which came after the guitar solo. Like the way that the beat slowed down for that. The drums as well, I really liked the drums. They had impact when they needed to, really drove things along, and there were some really great drum fills in there. They were kind of nice and subtle little things where there was runs on the toms, runs on the higher hats, the cymbals. I like the way that it was mixed and produced in a way that those things really came through. They sounded crisp. There was a real crispness to it. Sorry, again, neighbours. There's a lot of screaming. Apologies for that. I dared explain. So back to the fault. Yeah, there was a real quality to the way that it was mixed so that those things came through. Now, overall, that meant that you had a song that sounded crisp and it had the bits coming from the right places. Now, the vocal was an interesting one. Like I said, I found this very catchy, which is not necessarily what I'd expect from them, but it worked. It had a catchiness, it had a bite when it needed to. The vocal performance was lovely. I thought they got the most out of her voice. She got a really good voice, but I like the fact that occasionally you had those vocal runs where it was doing little melodic going down through the scales in a sort of nice, controlled and sort of really melodic way. And then there were the more held notes, the bigger notes. Having that juxtaposition not only works for making, the core values of a catchy melody, or at least an engaging melody, but it also good in highlighting when you've got to sing with a really good voice. Now, this was put against the sort of more growly, shouty stuff, which usually, like I say, I have, and again, this maybe sort of betrays the fact that this is not the style of music. It's a style of music that I like, but not one that I would ever put as one of my favourites, is that sort of style of vocal. I'm usually kind of, there's some instances where it works for me. I often point out that call me a common denominator person, but I always feel like Chester Bennington from Linkin Park did it very well because he managed to do that, but also hold a melody. There was a melody underneath all that growling. Often with a lot of growling, like in this case, I don't really feel that there's a melody. However, you can do that in a way where it just sort of comes in for a couple of bars or a couple of beats and out in a way that it's more kind of like a noise, like a sort of a loud, more visceral thing, to contrast against the melodic bits, which could be seen as being a little bit too clear for something which is supposed to be very grungy and energetic. So in this case, it worked because it did that. You know, you had like a bar here and a bar there of them going back and forth, and that worked. It gave a bit of pace. It broke things up. It also gave a variation to the vocal style. I thought that was just one of the things that was really sort of, actually. I could have been concerned about that on paper, but when I heard it, it just worked. And I like the fact that there was, again, that consideration to the arrangement of the song. Now, coming back to what I said might be where I could see that maybe some longer-term fans of the group might be disappointed. I do understand that this follows a fairly rudimentary verse, chorus, bridge, chorus arrangement. Everything about it, you know, the chord pattern's relatively simple. It's doing a lot of things that you could say are going a little bit too more towards just doing a single. Obviously, we don't know how this contrasts against the rest of the album or EP that it's from. Maybe it's just the most radio-friendly. Maybe that would explain why it's a single. But I can understand why for some people they might consider this not to be experimental enough. But for me, like I say, I appreciate a lot of the experimenting they do, but I think that at the core, they have some very good things sonically that maybe they hadn't properly exploited enough before becoming experimental. And in this song, I think that they just pinned down showing why their sound works, showing what about their sound is best, showing how about their sound they can most clearly express who they are musically, and then yes, I'm sure there'll be a lot more playing around, a lot more fun things to follow, and maybe even on the same record as this record. What an old-fashioned word! It's just an easy way of saying it could be an album, it could be an EP, it could be an LP, who knows? It could be a single, could be both, could be anything. So I like the fact that it was really good at just sort of pinning down the basics, pinning down what makes their sound so engaging and interesting at its core, and you didn't have to sort of dig through to find the things that you liked in it. They were just there. So that's my opinion, but as always, really interested to know what you guys think. Do you agree? Do you think this was a step back in the wrong direction, or do you think this was them kind of, if you like, pinning the core underpinnings of what makes them work? As always, I don't know as much about this band. I don't do too much pre-researching, so please tell me if there's something that I maybe overlooked. Maybe they, early in their career, maybe they were doing more like this, maybe they veered away and they're coming back. As always, guys, let me know if you are more aware of the band history than I am. I'm just speaking as someone who's worked with music my entire adult life, but that doesn't mean my opinion is more important than yours, because I'm just vocalizing what I think music is all about, how good it is to you as the listener. So if you have an opinion, let me know in the comments. As always, try and express your opinion as well as possible to help increase the conversation. Now, as always, likes and subscribes are greatly appreciated in the YouTube way. Big thank you to anyone who follows any of our social medias. You can do that. We're trying to build up the Reddit, great place for conversations. The Discord is very active if you want to talk to people about Japanese music or any form of music. There's a lot of great conversation going on there. Great people. Been doing this for a couple of years. It's really, really great to have them on board. A big thank you to anyone who follows the Patreon. You don't have to, but if you do, it makes a world of difference for us. So greatly appreciate that. And thank you to you for getting through to the end of the video. So until I hopefully see you very soon in Japan for the next one of these. For now, ciao ciao.